Oh, hey, you guys want in, right? I'm new here, so what do you think of them?
No.
All right. No,
I don't want
let's
them.
go.
I don't want them.
All right, you can't come in.
Hey, come here. There's a bunch of comedians hanging out with some friends. You're not supposed to be here, but if you're cool, you can come and hang. If you've ever been offended by anything, don't come in.
You know all the That's true.
I feel like this is fraternal, like we're all pals. Like
That's because
we
are, right?
Except for this fucking guy. Who cares about this guy?
No, I
No,
love
that's
it.
kind of true. It's like Jeffrey Ross, Richard Lewis, Margaret Cho, and some fucking guy. We needed a brown guy. He couldn't get Aziz, so here I am.
I think he's doing this in a selfish way to just make sure that his DVDs sell in the Muslim world, to be honest with you.
Well, then you got the wrong guy for that market, my friend.
Yeah, Kumail's not big among the Muslim crowd anymore.
Whenever I perform a show in front of my people, I
Who are
bomb.
your people? Who are your people?
Pakistanis.
Why do you think that you don't do well? Or is it just in your mind that you don't do well?
No, I know I don't do well because they called and complained to my manager afterwards.
Really?
Really?
What did they
Muslims?
say?
I did a show for a Muslim Doctors Association, and
Wait, here or in Pakistan?
Here.
Oh, 'cause
in
what kind of-
Pakistan, it would just be called Doctors Association.
Did you start doing comedy there or here?
No, here. Well, stand-up over there, when I was there, was like 20 years behind. So it was like or 30 years behind. It was like very different, like Catskills kind of.
Catskills in Pakistan?
Yeah. It's a fascinating world.
Take my wives, please.
These kids, they blow up so young. That's easy.
I know, it's all right.
I'm right here, guys. I can hear everything you're saying.
But so you started doing comedy in here?
Yeah, in college in Iowa.
Oh, okay.
You know, Pakistan to Iowa. That happens.
Yeah.
It's like it's an underground railroad, right?
I mean, there is no stand-up comedy really in Korea, so my parents didn't understand. You know, I told my mother I wanted to be a comedian. She goes, "Oh, maybe it's better if you just die." So they were so freaked out by my choice because they couldn't picture it even.
Didn't your mom say a similar thing?
Thousands of things like that. But a week before Carnegie Hall, I went to my hometown to do the warm-up, because Carnegie Hall is a big deal. My mother came to this gig. We didn't have a good relationship at all. In fact, when I got my first Tonight Show, I called her from the Sunset Strip, like in the 70s. I'm on with Johnny. And she said, "Who else is on?" All right? I said, "Mr. fucking T. I don't give a shit who's on." And we're right to the rainbow, about 1,000 fucking drinks. We didn't get along. She didn't understand me, like Margaret's saying. But I mean, but this thing would really kill me. There's like 1,500 people, and she got there 2 hours early. She met everyone in the fucking audience. So they all knew. So I go on stage. It's all hyperbole, but it came from the truth. But so my fucking father, and he had 2 penises, and it was fun. So she stood up after every joke. "Oh, my husband didn't have 2 penises." It was the hardest fucking show.
Oh my God, to have your mother annotate your act?
Yeah.
That was 1989. I had a girl, I was an open mic comedian.
You really there?
Yeah, I had a girlfriend who had an expense account, and she's like, "For your birthday, we're going to Carnegie Hall to see Richard Lewis." I was like, whoa. It was very exciting, and I remember you made some joke about your Charivari suit.
Was it black?
It was all black, and he comes out, and the one joke that I'm sure I'll fuck it up, but the best joke was like, you come out, you go like, "Carnegie Hall, when I think about all the great artists who've performed at Carnegie Hall, I put a little extra paper down on the toilet seat in the dressing room." That was the best. I don't know, that was my warped version of it.
I was thinking about it, Al Jolson took a shit on the toilet, and the Spinners, and I went, fuck There's no way. I'll do 2 hours, wanting to take a dump, but I'm not sitting on this fucking toilet. I just freaked out. I just fixated on it. I have problems in dressing rooms everywhere.
I would show up early to take a shit on Al Jolson's toilet seat.
You would, wouldn't you? Be just for historical reasons?
It's kind of like blowing Elvis. It's in that same kind of...
Maybe you're right. My ass does not sit on toilets. Say I don't know how, we're twisted. All of us are twisted.
That's a bad way to look at it, though, right?
Yeah.
Well, what do you do with that?
Twisted is a negative. Buddy Hackett used to call it the artistic temperament.
Jeffrey, do you remember when we met? Remember it was Cat's Rising Star in New York? I was really young. I was like 16 or something.
Wow.
And I was sneaking into comedy clubs. Like every time I see you, I'm like, that is like a face out of my childhood. Because I remember just thinking, oh, I met a boy. I met a boy.
Did you have a little crush on Jeffrey?
I always did, yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Like I think about like some of these clubs that I play now, and I think I used to be so scared to even go in the green.
I'm wondering, did you not have like a strong sense of yourself when you started comedy?
No, I didn't have any sense of myself or a sense that I belonged, but I was so needing to not be a kid anymore.
How old were you?
When I started stand-up, I was 14.
Wow.
And I just was like, I can't be a child anymore.
Well, I guess it beats factory work.
Yeah. Well, it's a different kind of sweatshop.
A different kind of sweatshop.
It's a kinder, gentler sweatshop.
What kind of material did you do at 14?
Just kind of talking about my family and talking about my parents and talking about my life and growing up and being so embarrassed, just having such immigrant parents.
Such immigrant parents. I like that. They were immigrant as fuck.
They were so fucking immigrant.
I like that. That's funny.
Like stories I would tell, my mom would never buy me glue for my school projects. She would say, why don't you just use a little bit of rice? Just use a little bit of...
That's pretty fucking immigrant.
A little bit of rice. You don't have to have glue or tape. You just use a little bit of rice. And I was so embarrassed that I would talk about it on stage. That's the kind of material that I would do, that I still do.
The Outsiders Act. You were an outsider. You felt different because you were an immigrant. So maybe you guys have that in common.
It's said a lot, but we are dark comedians. We got to get all our shit out, and I think it's a really healthy outlet for all of us,
I think so.
Rodney Dangerfield, 30 years ago, I was getting ready for Tonight Show. I was a big drinker and drugger and all that shit, but I'm in recovery now for a long time now. But I did all that shit. But when I had a Tonight Show, when I had to do a monologue, I just wanted to go in there, do the 5 minutes at a club, and then go home and hear it on the tape to see if I had it down. But Rodney and I were good friends. He was a dark, funny fucking guy, one of the great joke writers of all time, but amazing. Dark as a motherfucker.
Yeah.
And so I walk in there, and I know I wanted to get out of there. And I walk in there and go, hey, Louis, you'll join me, right? And I go, no, Rodney, I feel like shit. And he said to me, hey, great, you're halfway there, huh? And then I was just floored by that fucking line. And
I think that Jeffrey is like so happy and loving, and this is why I don't think comics are dark. Like every time I see you, you are the most happy, smiling, beautiful spirit all the time.
Have you ever looked in his crawl space?
Thank you.
I think that the Pagliacci thing doesn't really exist or isn't real, because I think comics can be happy.
That's an interesting point that you raised, because I've been thinking about this, because I watched the Joan Rivers documentary, I watched this documentary called I Am Comic, and it seems to keep coming up. The comics are these like really dark, broken people, but I don't think that has to necessarily be true. Like, I feel like a pretty happy guy. I mean, why are they laughing right now?
Because you're fucking young, that's why. I bet you it's about the same all over the world in any line of work, but comedians wear it on their sleeves. That's their currency, so it tends to come out looking dark.
For me, it definitely came from being a 17-year-old Pakistani boy landing in Iowa and being like, fuckity shit, being so different and everybody looking at me differently. I think that's where my...
Here's your one thing, was it just a cheap flight? Is that the reason you went there?
I mean, for me, like being a minority and being different, I'm so grateful that, I'm like a fucking middle-aged stoner and I could do this job. Like, this is so amazing.
The worst day in show business is still better than a day when I had a day job.
What was your day job?
I worked short order.
I did tech support, which is very stereotypical. I really did.
Jeffrey and I never got to talk about this. This is totally changing everything. We got really fucked over by Dancing with the Stars.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
You and
that's
I.
right. The only dancing injury to an eye that I've ever heard of.
My partner, editor, that fucking cunt,
Let it out, let it out.
the last rehearsal, she gets fake fingernails put in.
Oh, no.
So I hit my last boom at camera blocking, and her nail goes into my cornea.
Oh, no.
She's actually a doll. She's a great athlete, you know, and it was an accident, and I went to the emergency room at Cedars, which is very embarrassing when you're wearing sequins. And the doctor said, you can't dance. And I said, if I can walk, I'm doing my fucking cha-cha-cha. I had an eye patch on, and I danced against doctor's orders, and I got beat by Cloris Leachman. She wasn't even dancing. Her partner just dragged her lifeless body around the dance floor. It was like Weekend at Bernie's, the musical.
But it's not. I don't even think you dance bad. I think they decide how you're gonna do for the whole season before you even get out there.
I think you're right.
Because I actually am not a bad dancer. I am.
I thought you were terrific, by the way.
Thank you.
And I thought they were really mean to you.
Yeah, they were. They were
But they
fucked
kept
up.
saying, Margaret, what's wrong with your face?
Yeah, they were like, you're doing these weird things with your face, and I'm like, well, Bristol Palin doesn't even fucking move her face. Like, her face was just like a girl when you're fucking her and she's not into it, you know? And like, her face was like, you know, the whole time she was like, you know, and I've seen that face before. I don't want to see it again. Like, she was so terrible.
Did you learn the rumba, where you move your hips in a figure eight?
Oh, yes. Nice.
They already asked me to do this on To Catch a Predator next season.
I was so angry. Like, they're always really fucked up to comedians on that show.
I felt like it was really fun.
You slayed me on that show, man.
Yeah,
I
you're
can't
so
believe
good.
as you after they run you down and everything, he actually turns into the judge and he goes, and by the way, speaking of ballroom, these pants are tight. I couldn't believe you did that.
You know, I loved, when I was a kid, if you went to see a comic, he could sing and dance, so they were like showmen. So I was like, you know, I want to try to pay honor to that or try to learn something I don't know how to do.
Well, it's out of your comfort zone, right?
Exactly.
Which you want to do.
Chris Rock calls me up in my trailer. Never called me before. I couldn't believe it. He goes, yeah, I'm watching with my daughters. You're coming on soon. And I go, yeah, I'm working on my steps. He goes, Ross, fuck the dancing, write some jokes.
How long were you on the show for?
I got voted off during Jeopardy before the show even aired.
Yeah!
Beautiful.
I lasted one episode.
So, Kumail, so you think you can dance? You be on that next season?
No, I have no rhythm. We were told if you listen to music, you'd have hot lead poured into your ears in hell.
Was there bootleg shit going on, like when you were a kid, like bootleg Yiddish theater things?
Fiddler on the Roof.
Tell you about it, if you even say Tevye, it's over, right?
I don't even know what Tevye is.
It's like a rice, kind of Jewish rice. Side of Tevye. Yeah. All right, what, you're a Shiite?
How did you know that?
Look at you!
No! There's no way to tell. I don't have horns or whatever.
You got Shiite written all over your fucking face.
No. That's
over you.
bullshit.
No, you are a Shiite, aren't you? You're a Shiite.
Yeah,
man.
I am. How did you know? That's...
Because I know a lot of. I dated some Shiite men.
You dated Shiites?
Of
So I
course, I'm
remind
very
you of your
open-minded.
ex-girlfriends?
I'm very open-minded.
You really? That's really impressive.
You believe that? You fucking idiot. I didn't date a Shiite. No, I've been married for a long. No, I would date a Shiite if I was single and I dug her.
And a Shiite had no idea you were a Jew.
No. If there's a Shiite dating you, she's pissed at her parents.
First of all, you're a minority. I think only like 1 out of 10 Muslims are Shiites,
Yeah, there's
right?
so many
Something
of
like
us.
that. I thought they were more moderate. Why wouldn't they date a Jew?
Shiites? Because Shiite was a minority in Pakistan, so to like define ourselves more, we would get even more extreme. Like the Sunnis were less religious than the Shiites in Pakistan were. And it's hard when you grow up and that's all you see. You know, you grow up hearing that Jews are bad. That's what you hear over and over and over.
My dad was a kosher caterer, said the same thing every time he came home at night.
I've heard you talk about your experiences growing up, and it's actually shocking. It made me realize how little we really know about what it's actually like to be just a kid growing up in that part of the world.
I mean, I learned English from like Ghostbusters and Gremlins and stuff. I used to tell this story where we were told when you were kids, if you looked at a girl with a lustful gaze, it was the equivalent of stabbing the prophet's nephew in the back. And I remember watching that Diet Pepsi Cindy Crawford commercial, you know, where she's like putting the coin in the thing and she fucking picks the thing and she pulls it out and she puts it to her lips. And I was like, I am stabbing the hell out of the prophet's nephew right now.
Wow.
And that's the problem, I think, is that you can have a religion that needs to be in such a bubble to really exist.
Yeah.
And our world is so open now. You have so many influences. It's hard to sustain that. That's why I think a lot of the violence comes from, is trying to like sustain this bubble.
Do you think it's sort of like the last throes of that fundamentalism that can't really fight against progress at this point?
I honestly don't see it ending, though. I don't imagine a situation. This is a great comedy show. The world is fucked, guys.
It is fucked.
It makes comedy more important.
It kind of chips away at hope when you realize that even Muslims themselves don't get along.
Yeah, like.
And
yeah.
what's the difference between Shiites and Sunnis? It's like a clerical error.
Good pun, too. Good pun. Cleric.
I mean, it is, right? What is the difference? One group prays to the direct descendant of Muhammad, and the other prays to the nephew.
It happened right
of
after the
Muhammad.
Prophet died.
No, I know it sounds hilarious, but it's true, right?
Yeah, it happened right after the Prophet
We know nothing.
died.
We think you're just like your Jar Jar Binks. We don't know anything.
I'm like talking about fucking Mordor.
Yeah, we don't know.
Narnia over here. No, it is. Right after the Prophet died, it was who his successor was going to be, and it was either his son-in-law or his nephew.
Because you were in the next room and you saw all this shit, right?
That's
the problem that's why nothing's going to be solved, because as long as you hang on to what we don't know is actually true, and most of the world is impoverished, they're going to hang on to hope that way. And as long as they hang on to that, there's going to be fucking these sociopaths killing people forever. I mean, how can it ever get better? It's the haves and the have-nots.
Well, but see, that's the thing. I think a lot of what we experience is divide and conquer, because if all the have-nots got together and stopped arguing over what color the have-nots were, the haves would be fucking shitting a brick.
We'd be fucking dead. It's true.
It's true.
Can I ask you a question? I really want to know this, because I've never read the Quran, okay?
Right.
So I was always told that, there are some dark passages that even the moderates don't admit to. So I remember when, I don't know Cat Stevens' real name.
Yusuf.
Yeah, something like that.
Islam.
Right, something like that. No, is that true?
Yes, it's a lot like naming yourself Richard Jew.
Okay, it's
a lot like that.
It's really, that's true. But so he was on Larry King, and Larry King says, I'm a Brooklyn Jew, and I'm just curious. I mean, I'm happy you're a Muslim, blah, whatever he said. He didn't. It's a good impression of Larry King.
It's not
It
bad.
sounded like fucking Muhammad Ali or Hal Linden. That could have been anybody. I'm a hoax. I have no talent. I'm sorry. So Larry King says, are you sure there's nothing in the Koran that says, kill the Jews? Basic, just kill the fucking Jews. So Cat Stevens said, all right, so maybe there's one sentence. So the point I want to ask you, with all the beautiful Muslim teachings in the Quran, is there that one on page 229, kill the fucking Jews?
Honestly, I don't remember there being one. I don't think there is.
Did you ever read the Quran?
Yeah, I've read it 3 times.
Really?
Yeah.
Didn't you get it the first time?
No, it's very dense.
Is it?
Yeah, it's like
I'm gonna wait for
you
the
think
movie.
Ulysses is hard. Here's what it is that people interpret it. So it says
Right.
anything that's an attack on Islam is your enemy, and you fight that. And that can be abstract, like it can be an idea, or it can be people. Right. And in our history books, it's always traditionally the people we're fighting have been Jews. So I think people can take the Quran saying any attack on Islam is your enemy, and then they extrapolate that to mean Jews.
But you were taught specifically that Jews are evil.
Yeah, in school. Yeah, our history books were definitely all the original Muslim wars that we studied history were all against, and then the Jews came. And I remember there was a test, they asked us this question, it was a trick question. How many people were martyred in the war? And somebody was like 3,000, like, nope, 1,500 of those were Jews, so they're going to hell. And this was like in 6th grade or something.
So now it's probably a higher number.
I hope so. We've been working pretty hard. We've been going at it.
You know what's trippy? No, it's the first time at the age of 18 when he went to college that he ever touched a female
That
by
wasn't-
shaking hand that wasn't a blood relative.
That wasn't my mom or like a baby. And I remember I shook hands and I was like, I am stabbing the hell out of the prophet's nephew right now. Yeah, that was the first time women didn't shake hands. And
But
that
now
was...
don't you really appreciate it, though? I mean, that's kind of hot.
Oh, yeah.
It's awesome.
What's the punishment for intercourse? Is there a
You
punishment?
get stoned to death.
Really?
Like Ron Jeremy right now. Ron Jeremy's cock is so big it has an elbow.
His cock is so big, Muslims are flying planes into it. No?
Too soon. Too soon. Ron Jeremy's cock is so big it fucked this whole show up.
You had such an interesting experience with the television networks on your own series and how you saw your relationship to your ethnicity and how they did. And I'm wondering if you have any similar experience.
Every audition is clearly parts that were written for Aziz that he got too famous for. Honestly, that is what it is. They're like, this is a cab driver. His name is Aziz, you know. It's completely true. I swear it's true.
It's like they can't stop thinking about you in any other way but a race. And it's so hard to express that you're so much more than that. And yet, you know, it's so weird. Like when I was doing television, they were so adamant about us portraying an accurate Asian American family. But there's no
such thing. It's just people.
It's just people. Yeah. But they had hired an Asian expert from UCLA to come and show us how to be Asian. And there was like this woman was like, well, maybe you need some chopsticks on this table. You know, why don't you put a fan out? Like it was really weird.
You're like, take off this baseball hat, put on that.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're in rice patty. That's good. But it was just like they were trying to feed into this idea of accuracy because I think...
But that was because they were afraid of being accused of being insensitive.
Yeah, accused of being racist, which that is another way of being racist, is to ask for authenticity.
I go to an audition and I have a Indian Pakistani accent. I'll go in and I'll do it and they were like, could you make it more? And I realized they just want me to sound like Apu. Like, that is... It's honestly, their idea.
Right, but
of
if
an
I have
Indian
a
guy
Jersey
talking-
accent, they'll do the same thing. Could you be more Jersey?
No,
for
but
this
their
thing?
idea of an Indian guy is a white guy doing an Indian guy. Like nobody sounds like Apu, you know? But I do think a lot of these stereotypes can come from good places. It's people trying to relate to you. Like, I got married to a white girl from North Carolina, and for the first year, her family called me Borat. That's what they called me.
Was that a term of affection, at least?
I honestly do think it was. It was...
The movie hadn't even come out yet.
They were way ahead of the curve. They were like, this movie's gonna be big. It's like not even the right landmass, you know? Them calling me Borat was their way of like, okay, we know Borat, that makes sense. This new guy doesn't make sense. Maybe we take this, try and get him to make sense, you know? I think
you could try harder.
But it is interesting to me to see how stereotypes evolve. Like, our stereotype went from the angry Middle Eastern now to like it's getting sort of the nerdy is our stereotype.
Is that right? Well,
and, you know, with the tech support stuff.
Oh, yeah, okay.
It's true.
Well, that's a much better reputation than blowing shit up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but
I just think it means you could be a series regular.
That is right. It's not like a one-episode guest star. Like, this guy comes, 5 minutes, he's dead. No, it's true. I do think the stereotype for my people are evolving to be more positive, and then eventually it'll get to the point where we'll hopefully just be seen as people.
What were some of the conflicts you had with the network?
Well, so many. The fact that I wasn't Asian enough, that I was too fat to play the role of myself. So
But that's true for every woman in Hollywood.
True,
right?
true, but
I
I
mean,
had
that's not
extra,
an ethnic thing.
I had an extra added pressure because when I did television, it was the first Asian American family on TV, so I was like, I will do anything. And I put myself in the hospital, starving, because I just wasn't going to let everybody down, you know? And then I lost all this weight, and the show was canceled anyway, and replaced by Drew Carey, because he's so thin. So it was like, this really is.
He is now.
He is
He's
now.
skinny now.
He is really skinny now.
Wow, yeah.
And I think for Middle Easterners, the good thing about 9/11, other than all the Jews dying, was that. No, I do think that people have this interest. They want to understand. You know, they want to understand how could somebody do this? Why? What about it makes sense? So I think people have this curiosity. At least where I'm from, people want to know what's going on, why this is happening.
Yeah, that's...
Ron Jeremy's cock is so big. Once a year, it sheds its foreskin.
Richard Lewis, folks. Margaret Cho. Jeffrey Ross. Kumail Nanjiani. Is that fun, man? Come on back and hang out again.